Yahushua, Bashim Rakah, Kodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles, GMS who do well, and peace and salutation to the elect. My name is Rapash Bob, and I'm going to go ahead and just really just bring light to, the elder said he was going to let us have it. So, this is just a response to the elder apostle Tahar's video, dealing with Captain Tazariak. The question, I'm gonna play the video. I think the question started at around right here.
Strangers, God's talking about Leviticus 25:35, which I didn't go to. Christians don't know #Bible, put up by Captain Desire out there. So
you were there.
Let's go.
You said, then he came to a question where he asked you were there strangers in the wilderness with us. When we were in Egypt, he asked you were the strangers Israelites.
Right. And I
you
said yes.
There was no other. Yes, you said yes, the strangers was Israelites. And you also said that there was no mixed multitude that went out with Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the military of Israel.
Let's rewind that back.
Multitude that went out with Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the military of Israel.
Say it again.
No, there was a mixed multitude that went out with the children of Israel, but that mixed multitude was men, women, and children that was not a part of the...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just, quick notes. You see, I've got 14%. So I'm going to go to Leviticus first. Leviticus 24. To bring light to what's going on here. Leviticus 24. And I believe he was talking about the Israelite-ish woman and her son. Actually, let me do it like this. Let me be faster. Leviticus 24. Be faster if I do it this way. And 10. Okay, it says, and the son of the Israelite-ish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, it says, went out among the children of Israel, and the son of the Israelite-ish woman and the man of the Israel strove together in the camp. So the son of the Israelite-ish woman, so she was an Israelite, but whose father was an Egyptian. Who was that talking about? It's talking about the son. So the son's father was an Egyptian. Let me read out the NLT. It says, one day a man who had an Israelite mother and Egyptian father came out of his tent to go and instead got into a fight with one of the Israelitish men. It says, during the fight, the son of the Israelite-ish woman blasphemed the name of the Lord with a curse. So the man was brought to Moses before judgment. His mother, the Shelamite, the daughter of Debri, the tribe of Dan. So the mother, she was an Israelite, but the son was, his father was an Egyptian. So, pretty much that just shows you the separation there, that there was children who had Egyptian fathers who, as the Lord, because remember the Lord had them going throughout the wilderness for 40 years before he broke why would Moses break the stone tablets? Because remember he gave the covenant to him in the Exodus, but then it also talks about the angel of the Lord that they teed off. Let's go to it real quick. Exodus. It's Exodus. Is that 14? No. Here we go. One more. Salakia. Go one more to the left, to the right. Damn. All right, here it is. Damn. Now, you know what? We don't even have to do this, man. We don't even have to. We just gonna keep it simple, man. Because if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Let's go back to Exodus 14. You know, because at this point, the Lord pretty much, he made a separation. I'm even show you something at the end of this. It's Exodus 14 and 19. Exodus start at 18. It says, the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I have gotten honor upon the people, upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, upon his horsemen. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them in a pillar of cloud. So why would it say the angel of God? Who's the angel of God? That's Yahweh Shah. Remember, he told you not to anger him in the book. He said, anger him not, for his name is in him. So Yahweh Shah was with us in the wilderness too. And remember, Moses was talking with the angel of the Lord. Moses was the only one that can actually go and talk with him. You see? And at the end of the day, let me keep reading. It says, and went behind them, and a pillar of cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. It says, and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. It was a cloud and a darkness. It's like a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by day to these, so that one came not near the other all the night. So pretty much the angel of the Lord was shielding them, right? So then why would we get to why would we get to Leviticus 24? And he pretty much is telling you, the Israelite, this woman, because you had Egyptians, they took the Egyptian children. The Lord spared. Just like, he spared Edomite children, and I'm going to show you. He took the children as spoils. You took the women and the children. Remember, Moses gave that command too. Take the women, the widows, and the children, the fatherless, But see, the thing is, they could never take part into the promise because they weren't Israelites. You see, learning their customs and wanting to be like them is what always drove us, away from our power, man. But anyways, just keeping it spiritual, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter. Actually, let me get this real quick first, just to bring light to, who the angel of the Lord was. It's Acts 7 and 38. It says, "This is he." I'm gonna read out the NLT. Moses was with our ancestors, the assembly of God's people in the wilderness. It says, when the angel spoke to him at Mount Sinai, and who's that angel? Yahweh Shah. And there Moses received life-giving words to pass on to us. But our ancestors refused to listen to Moses. They rejected him and wanted to return to Egypt. So a lot of our people made covenants to return to Egypt. They always wanted to be a part of their ways instead of what the Lord was calling them into, And pretty much the Lord said he was going to destroy them off the land anyways. Let's go to Numbers chapter 20. Was it Numbers 20? Where he's pretty much showing you, as they're going, because in Numbers, you got to look at Numbers. They're going and they're establishing order. They're taking over lands, So as he's leading them through the wilderness, they're taking the children, they're destroying the men, and they're taking the children. It says, while Moses was at Kadesh, at Numbers 20 and 14, while Moses was at Kadesh, he sent ambassadors to the king of Edom with this message. This is what your relatives, the people of Israel, say. All the hardships we have been through. Our ancestors went down to Egypt. We lived there a long time, and our ancestors were brutally mistreated by the Egyptians. It says, but when we cried out, the Lord, he heard us and sent an angel who brought us out of Egypt. Now are we encamped at Kadesh, a town on the border of your land. So pretty much, if you keep reading that on, the Edomites pretty much was, hesitant to letting them go through those lands, man. But the Lord still ended up driving them out of those lands. The Edomites and the other Ammonites, and so on and so forth, man. And he used Joshua to help, put the people back. So pretty much the Moabites, because you remember they're going in circles from the land of Canaan to a route, pretty much he had them going in circles from the land of Canaan about to the land of Ammon. If you look at a map, he pretty much kept them from getting into the Holy Land. So around the land of Canaan, he just had them going in circles, and then he wiped them out Then he put them into the lands. He started to put them to the lands from the Jordan River, and then then westward. But anyways, just keeping it spiritual on point, man. Just showing you that the Lord, that there was children that weren't Israelites among the nation. Their fathers were from other nations. So their fathers were from other nations. Now I'm gonna go here. Let's go to Deuteronomy 10, to Deuteronomy chapter 9. To bring light to these things, man, because the Lord recorded everything for a reason. So you got to ask yourself, why would he break the stone tablets and then rewrite the stone tablets with the children? Because a lot of our, like I said, a lot of our forefathers was making covenants with the heathen, the stone, the calf, the golden calf, worshiping idols in the wilderness, wanting to return back to Egypt. That's pretty much what you see today. It's the same thing. But it said this happened when I was out of the mountain receiving the tablets of stone inscribed with the words of the covenant that the Lord had made with you. It says I was there for 40 days and 40 nights, and all that time I ate no food and drank no water. It said the Lord gave me two tablets, two tablets on which God had written with his own fingers all the words that he had spoken from you to you from the heart with fire when you were assembling the mountain. And it says at the end of the 40 days and nights, it says the Lord handed me two stone tablets inscribed with the words of the covenant. So pretty much the Heavenly Father wasn't, he had to rewrite, he pretty much, because they broke their covenant, there was Israelites that broke that promise with him in the wilderness. So Moses, broke the stone tablets, and he ended up having Moses rewrite it. Well, technically, he put his own. He rewrote it, the 10 Commandments, and we'll get that. Because he told her. He said he was going to utterly destroy them. He was just going to utterly destroy them from among his people, man. And that just goes into the 2/3 coming back. 2/3 ain't going to make it on the first go round, man. It's the same thing today. If you analyze it, but keeping it in the context in Deuteronomy 10. Let's see, it was 10. And 1, it says, at that time the Lord said to me, chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones. Also make a wooden ark, a sacred chest to store them in, and come unto me into the mountain. It says, and I will write upon the tablets, the same words that were on the ones you smashed. It says, place the tablets in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood, pretty shittim wood, and cut 2 stone tablets like the first. Then I went up to the mountain with the tablets in my hand. It says, once again, the Lord wrote the 10 Commandments on the tablets and gave them to me. They were the same words the Lord had spoken to you from the heart of fire on the day you were assembled before the foot of the mountain. So pretty much, skipping down, it says, and the children of Israel took their journey from Beruth of the children of Jachan, and the children, this is important to understand, the children of Jachan, because remember, he had them, going around and pretty much in circles until he destroyed the fathers because of their complaining and their bitching and their moaning. It wasn't enough, and all that BS. It says, and the children of Israel took their journey from Beroth and the children of Jachan to Masera. It says there Aaron died. It says and there he was buried. And Eleazar his son ministered in the priest office in his stead. Now I want to get this. When you look up the, who was Jachan. Who was this man? The children of Jachan. Important to understand. Let me do this.
Strong's H 885. Be'eroth b'nei Ya'akan. Be'eroth b'nei Ya'akan.
So we're looking at Ya'akan, right? Ya'akan. It said Baruch, Ya'akan. So we want Ya'akan. Who is Jachan? Jachan had let him oppress them, an Edomite. So these were children of Edom, pretty much. And when you analyze his name, he's pretty much, because Edomites would be in rulership. So pretty much justifying Edomite, you pretty much justifying the strangers as being, which were Edomites, as being Israelites. And they were, in fact, not Israelites. They were Edomites, children of Edomites. And you also had children of Egyptians. And that's why the Lord, we was at first, but, it also goes into how they oppress us. Because remember, the Edomites would have rule over us, man. They would have the first rule, and then Jacob would have the next rule. But anyways, it's Deuteronomy 10 and 16. Actually, let me see. It's not 10 and 16, man. It's Deuteronomy 10. Is it? Yeah, it's 10 and 17. It started 17. I'm going to read out the NLT. Actually, I'm going to start at 18 and read out the KJV, just to get to the point. It says, he doeth execute judgment of the fatherless and the widow. Who's the fatherless? The children. And the widow, who's the widow? The women who were married to not, I wouldn't say they were married, but the women of these other nations, pretty much, man. But technically, they were, you kill the women, you kill the men, and you take the women. You take the women, you take the nation, pretty much. So widow, and it says, and loveth the stranger in giving him food and raiment. It said, love ye therefore the stranger. So you made that command. Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt, man. It said, thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, and to him shalt thou cleave and swear by his name. So who were the children? These were children of other nations, man. These were not children of Yasharallah, man. And at the end of the day, the angel of the Lord, as well as if him and the Heavenly Father on the same accord, they was only dealing with one nation, man. So that just, just a little cut right there, just to let you know that those children, those strangers, there were strangers among the mixed multitude, but all the strangers that were amongst the mixed multitude weren't Israelites. Most of the strangers that was among the mixed multitude that got drove out were children, were fathers, were of other nations, man. Children of fathers whose fathers were from other nations. And then you had, the Israelites, which would pretty much mingle with them and have children, which then those children technically would be Israelites, right? Once they break their, pretty much break their, what they call it, scatterbrain right now, man. But once a woman break her period, pretty much, she could be considered a woman. But then there was the customs that went into that play too. You see what I'm saying? So, it wasn't just, it was a lot of order to it, and at the end of the day, it's everybody, all the strangers that was in those lands, you had Egyptians among them, Egyptian children, Edomite children, so on and so forth, man. And, it just so happened that's how the Lord set it up, man. So at the end of the day, that's just it. It is what it is. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rikah HaKodash. It was just a quick hit. Shalom.